Hello. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Mariel if you're new here, and a couple weeks ago I did a video on romantic aesthetics, and today I thought I would kind of continue that and talk about hyperfeminine aesthetics, including more trendy and modern aesthetics. Hyperfemininity plays off of the traditional idea of femininity, and it takes stereotypical feminine characteristics such as the color pink, for example, and it just exaggerates that. And I feel like recently women are trying to reclaim that femininity. Personally, when I was younger, I kind of rejected feminine things like pink and bows and stuff like that because I had that internalized misogyny, and so I like the idea of indulging in more feminine things now as a result, and I feel like a lot of women feel the same way. Of course, you don't have to identify as a woman to partake in these aesthetics. I always stand by wearing whatever you want and experimenting with whatever styles you want. Hyperfemininity seems to be becoming an aesthetic itself on TikTok if you look up the hashtag hyperfemininity on there, and it seems very heavily inspired by the coquette aesthetic, so that will be the first aesthetic that I talk about. But I feel like there are other aesthetics that can be considered hyperfeminine, so I wanted to cover a few of those as well. There are so many aesthetics out there and so many directions you can go with hyperfemininity, so I definitely can't cover them all. So if you want me to do another video on this, then let me know in the comments down below and I can cover whatever aesthetics you want me to. So first off, the coquette aesthetic. Like I said, it's very popular on TikTok and is pretty much the aesthetic that comes up if you search hyperfemininity. And it idealizes feminine and dainty things. It romanticizes vintage summer styles and has an element of nostalgia to it. I have made a list here of some items that I have noticed are really common in this aesthetic, but this isn't a definitive list. This is just what I have noticed in my research and the inspo I found online. So first off, there's sundresses and floral dresses, especially dainty or ditzy floral print, so like smaller flowers in the print rather than like big floral patterns. I feel like it's a very vintage inspired floral print, and the coquette aesthetic is very vintage inspired itself. A lot of the dresses I see are also spaghetti straps, so I feel like that's a common element to look for. Cardigans, sweaters, tennis skirts, or mini skirts and dresses in general. Preppy clothing especially, Mary Janes for shoes. Lace in general is a good detail to look for in clothing, and frilly lace tights, socks or stockings, white or light pink tights, tiny little bows, or roses or lace trim like you see on underwear, ribbons in your hair, pearl jewelry, heart jewelry like a little heart locket, and for a color palette I would look for soft pastel colors. There is some controversy associated with the coquette aesthetic, like balletcore, like I mentioned in my romantic aesthetics video. There is a lack of diversity in skin color and body types. If you just do a quick search on the coquette aesthetic, you will probably see that. And it can be infantilizing and romanticizing things that children wear a lot of times, like lace socks and roughly frilly socks, which can be very problematic obviously. And I will link a blog post down below if you want to read more about it, because I think it is important to learn about these problems and acknowledge these problems and keep these in mind when incorporating styles like this into your wardrobe, and be mindful of what you want to project and what values you're projecting when picking out outfits. That being said, if you like this aesthetic, I feel like you will also like balletcore as well. I feel like it's a more casual version of coquette and more like a feminine athleisure version of coquette. So check out my other video if you do want to learn more about balletcore. Next I'll talk about princesscore, and like the name suggests, it is an aesthetic that is heavily inspired by princesses in terms of the fashion as well as mannerisms and being well-mannered and poised and elegant. But today I'll only be talking about the fashion. So for items you would look for princessy dresses. I know, very descriptive, right? But like long flowy dresses and details like puff sleeves, layered skirts, corset bodices, lace or ruffle trims, silk satiny fabrics, or tulle. And you can look for flowy skirts and flowy tops as well. Just focus on that flowy romantic silhouette and the lace, silk, satin, or tulle materials. Corsets in general would make a great top for a princesscore outfit, and for accessories I would look for pearl accessories, extravagant or statement jewelry, even a tiara, of course that definitely fits that princess vibe. And for shoes I would go for some elegant heels that match your dress. Next, I wanted to talk about the bubblegum babe slash bratz aesthetic and barbiecore. I feel like bubblegum babe isn't a very popular term, but I don't know if there's like a more popular term for this aesthetic, but basically that like Y2K bratz influence aesthetic that I feel like is pretty popular on TikTok right now. And instead of that light pastel pink we see in aesthetics like coquette, this aesthetic is more hot pink. It's also got a sense of nostalgia to it, but more nostalgia for the early 2000s. Some common elements you'd see would be mini skirts or mini dresses, fur trim outerwear, which is very Y2K inspired, so like a fur trim cardigan or a fur trim coat or something like that. Velvet tracksuits, very Y2K. Baby tees, platform shoes, which I feel like is very inspired by Bratz dolls. Knee-high or thigh-high boots also fit the aesthetic. And for accessories, maybe like a belly chain, tiny purses or shoulder bags, or those little baguette purses. Y2K accessories in general, maybe like those colorful plastic hair clips or butterfly clips. Feathers or fur fabrics, animal print, glitter, and for motifs, I would see a lot of cartoons or even anime, hearts, bubblegum or candy, sweet foods, or fruits like strawberries or cherries. In this video, I mixed barbiecore and bubblegum babe together into one aesthetic, but I feel like barbiecore is a more wholesome version of bubblegum babe, whereas bubblegum babe slash bratz aesthetic is more sexy and more adult themed. And finally, I wanted to quickly touch upon lovecore, which, like the name suggests, is an aesthetic that focuses on love. Think Valentine's Day. For a color palette, I would go for red, pink, or white, Valentine's colors. And some common items I would see would be romantic fabrics like lace, silk, tulle, and even knitwear would work. And in terms of fashion, I feel like you can go for pretty much anything, like skirts, dresses, t-shirts, pants, etc. But I would focus more on the motifs. So I would look for motifs that you would associate with Valentine's Day, like hearts, of course, and candy, kisses, things like that. And even like strawberries, similar to the bratz or barbiecore aesthetic, or flowers. Something about hearts is super appealing. Like, I'm not typically into hyper feminine pink aesthetics myself, but I just love heart-shaped things. They're just so freaking cute. And I feel like there are other aesthetics that I have talked about in the past, which I didn't mention here because I've talked about it in the past. So things like cottagecore, fairycore, angelcore, romantic academia, and like I mentioned earlier, balletcore. And I feel like these are also very feminine aesthetics that can also be considered hyper feminine. So if you want to look into those, definitely check that out. I have a whole playlist on exploring different aesthetics, so check it out if you want more inspo. And that's all I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this video and hope you learned a thing or two about hyper feminine aesthetics. And let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want to see and what other aesthetics you want me to cover, or if there are more feminine aesthetics that I didn't cover here that you think I should look into, let me know. And again, if you want more fashion and aesthetic content, follow me on Instagram at @DRESSRELIEF and on TikTok at DRESSRELIEF, and I'll see you guys next time.